It's Friday, ladies and gentlemen, which means one thing and one thing only: CCG action back in the ACL once more. I'm Slayer, back finally after a bit of a hiatus to take you through the week slate, and I'm joined by the ever-dashing Keepsake, my man. How you feeling about just some Friday League of Legends high-stakes action?
You know what? I am so glad to be here. I am missing LCS for some good League of Legends,
True.
and I am not regretting it at all. This is going to be a fantastic showing by two teams, both with really high winning records, and I'm like super excited to see where this is going to go.
Well, your excitement is certainly carrying over to this side. Hopefully, everybody watching at home as well who decided to stay away from the LCS to check out CCG. But your keepsake mentioned it there. You talked about two teams who have very high records. There's only one loss between these two squads tonight. So let's take a look at both the rosters we have set up for tonight's matchup. Obviously, your home team, CCG, on the left there, and Exodia Exiles on the right, 3-0 in the Demacia division right now. Keepsake, and they've been rolling early this season.
It's really impressive considering that the Demacia and the Noxus, this is like, I believe one of the first cross, is it not one of the first cross, like, uh, division cities in terms of matches that
True.
CCG has had so far. And it's
Yes.
against what might be the #1 team in their division. So we're going to not only see which of the teams plays better today, but where the different places stack up against each other. Which division might be the strongest? Is it the Demacia division, or is it maybe the Noxus? We don't know.
And the funny thing is, Keepsake, if you go back to lore, you lean on lore statistics here of League of Legends. I'd say both of those nations would claim that the other
At the
one is the
top.
stronger one, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So makes it even more fitting, right? Demacia versus Noxus. Well, you got to look at the rosters across the board. Obviously, very familiar with the CCG roster, but we have a little bit of extra spice for you guys tonight on this week's broadcast. So let's bring up some special statistics looking across the board for all of the squad we have. And the big thing to look out the gate here, Keepsake, is it's a new face, a friendly face in jungle for this CCG roster.
Yeah, this player, new to the team, tonight will be his first game after a full week of practice. I know we had a different different jungler previously. I believe it was Hyans or Hyphens. Hyphiena. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This jungler, I believe, is more oriented around those carry picks. It seems like that Lee Sin, that Graves, that Kha'Zix, willing to play more of those champions. So I wonder if he will prioritize top side and say, hey, you're going to play some tanks, you're going to get me ahead, or he's going to say, hey, look at our bottom side. We have a player who likes to play Draven, likes to play aggressive. We have a support who likes to go in. Let's just full send it. And you go there and let's get some kills and let's snowball the game into a victory.
Yeah, well, speaking of snowballing, so far CCG, after a shaky first week where they didn't really have the full roster together, they are on a 2-game win streak, as you also can see there, like you heard Keepsake mention in that Noxus group. Some other fun facts that they're out. If you've been following through the CCG roster so far through the 3 weeks of play, you know that Topo is all about that Poppy gaming, just some really high level Poppy gameplay. I believe 1.6 million mastery, and was allowed to play it in their win against Redacted. I was able to watch, and just so smart how he played. The favorite thing I loved about him was when he pulled out Keeper's Verdict. It's such a threat of an ultimate. Just hold on to it and make sure that the teams just are frozen. They don't know what to do with that hammer swing, and he wouldn't even cast it. And by the time they realized what's happened, the entire rest of CCG had burned down their front line. So it'll be really interesting to see if Topo even gets to play that Poppy this time round against Exodius Exile, or gets that banned out. But this team is stacked outside of the top and jungle, really throughout the roster, Keepsake, and they've showed it these last 2 weeks.
I mean, for support, the third highest in the ACL for wards per minute at 1.2 is an astounding figure. Like, that information doesn't like directly translate into like gold or into like any other resource that you could quantify with numbers, but the amount of information you gain, the amount of checks that you don't have to do in order to just walk into a fight, in order to set up for something, in order to know if your opponent is trying to sneak something. I mean, these are the real contributions that like this team makes that can push them to be at the top of their game, at the top of the ACL. And that's what I'm looking for here today. I'm looking for another just controlling performance.
Well, I think everybody at home with the CCG faithful keepsake would certainly be looking out for that as well. But you talked about Detro really controlling the vision. Obviously, vision's a big part of playing support, and your counterpart in the AD carry slot, big part of that is, well, the D in AD carry, damage. All about the damage. And Rock Boom, third highest damage in the ACL right now. It's just incredible how he's doing so well right now in this AD carry meta that has kind of been thrown for a spiral these last couple of patches.
Right. This is not a static meta. I mean, this is not MSI patch. We're running Zeri, Aphelios, Jinx. This is new ADCs. We got Draven, we got Kai'Sa, and we're looking to blow up a whole new adventure with new tactics.
Yeah, it's really a intriguing time for League of Legends action, especially as we now transition on to patch 13.12. And I kind of want to take some time to talk about Keepsake as we're still trucking along with the pre-show, waiting for the draft to get kicked off for this game one action. I'm curious how you kind of feel about the state of the league meta right now, because it seems to just be dominated. You already said the word, you kind of alluded to it, a static dominated meta. I'm curious how you feel about it.
So I have seen a lot of experimentation with the so aforementioned static object, that being Static Shiv, of course. This item is game breaking. It's not super expensive. It's not super expensive at all. You can build it on some AD champions, AP champions, champions with range. I've seen people build it on obviously on Kennen it's broken. LeBlanc is everywhere, literally in every single league it's taking over. You can build Static Shiv on almost anyone, and a lot of the ones I've seen recently, a lot of the experimentation have been in the top lane. So I'm wondering, right, the Topo does not use a lot of champions that I think can really abuse the Static Shiv, right? He uses Rumble. I don't think Rumble can use Static Shiv. I haven't seen it work out for him, right? But Ricky is a little more carry oriented. I think he has some games on Action. I wonder if he wants to try to see if he can get waves in and get prio, and maybe they can set up for early Herald if CCG decides to play weak side and they're like, we can give up but we're not going to lose that much. I wonder if they're going to play something that can push really fast and maybe make them lose a lot in the top side.
You know what makes it even more intriguing talking about the top side. I know you mentioned there's actually a substitute for Exodia Exiles, so we know very little. It's BB
no.
BB Swag is going to be stepping in here for Exodia Exiles in the top lane. So we'll see if they definitely utilize that static shift. The static shift is just so funny to me. I understand the process for champions like LeBlanc, because certainly a champion that kind of can struggle to farm and clear waves sometimes,
Right.
trying to match some of these more powerful mages, especially like an Ahri. It's just still so silly to think about. I mean, the amount of League that I've played in my life at this point, I mean, I remember the original static shiv back in the old days, and if you told me that LeBlanc would be building it in the LCS and even across the international highest leagues back then, I would have called you crazy.
Crazy. I mean, an ADC item that is now being built on basically, in fact, I think I see it the least actually on ADCs other than support. I mean, I see it on Ashe, but then, I mean, I see it on like marksman in other roles. I see it on obviously Action top sometimes. I see it on Kennen, not really a marksman, boo-hoo. I see it on LeBlanc. I see it on really anyone with range. Obviously, Corki is a massive pick. I actually think it maybe makes Corki more viable. Obviously, we're not 2021 Corki, in terms of anymore, where he was just pick or ban with Victor. We're in kind of a Azir oriented meta, and Azir doesn't really build static shiv, although you think he might, but he doesn't. There's just too many items he needs to be relevant. Yeah, I'm ready to hopefully get into this draft because I'm really excited to see what some of these players bring in. I've been looking at a lot of their profiles, and they've got some interesting picks. Obviously, CCG having more of an engage oriented bot side, and then looks like EXE from their support is looking, it's Barlow, is looking a little bit more on the Enchanter or disengage side. I know he plays some Thresh, that's his main champion, but Thresh oftentimes can be disengaged, and other than that, it seems like he has a lot of Enchanters. So I want to see how that dynamic goes.
I'm really interested to see how the dynamic of this EXE team just goes in general, Keepsake, because we're being told by our lovely production team here that they are continuing to truck out substitutes for tonight's matchup. So
Oh,
their mid laner as well is going to be a substitute. So Decker is in at mid and BB Swag is in at top lane. And this will tell one of two things in the entirety of the ACL. It will tell one that they can label this a fluke week for CCG if they want to, throwing that in quotation marks, obviously, or that EXE is one of the deepest teams in the league if they can pull off a series win. Excuse me, against a CCG squad like this. But when you were talking about the draft, we do know players getting in the lobby now, so we should have that coming to you guys soon. But you talked about how support matchups you talked about between these two squads. I find it really interesting because you said the EXE certainly like to lean more Enchanter, but the way the meta is going, especially in these latest patches with support, those Enchanters, the reign of Melio and Yumi has kind of been subsided, and it's now like
I do
back
not
to those
expect.
engaged supports. So you got to feel like this is kind of Detro's meta to pop up.
I don't expect in any way to see Yumi or Zeri in these games.
Yeah.
I can't see how they got really gutted in this last patch. Melio still strong, absolutely still. I mean, you can play him with Lucian, you can play him with Aphelios, you can play him scaling, you can play him like you can basically play like probably poke Melio, and it's probably still busted. But in terms of like the champions I think are strong, I think Alistar and Rel have like had some really good games, like in the higher leagues and just in solo queue that I've been like really like enjoying. I'm an Alistar player myself. I love to see
Nice.
Alistar get locked in and to see like 3 kills in laning phase between the enemies. Also, Rel obviously strong. People pick Nautilus and Leona sometimes. I mean, it does seem like an engaged supports meta. My worry is though that I believe it's Barlow plays Braum and Renata, and the thing with Braum and Renata, still strong. Braum is really, really good, especially if they do something range. Like they imagine they play like CCG plays like Lee Sin, and then like a range like Azir like Ari mid, and then like you have like your Aphelios and like Nautilus. You're never like getting to their kill. It's gonna be really hard. You have to like work way harder than EXE will in order to get past that line.
Yeah, that's a really. I'm really glad you pointed out both those champions because actually, we talk about obviously we're gonna lean on the LCS here for North America. You gotta lean on the higher league, right? To talk about Renata has been getting a lot of play. I believe I saw Chime get a pretty big W for Team Solo Mid yesterday, playing some really good Renata against the engaged support. So that's certainly a good point to mention. I do want to go back as we got some more time to meet. You said you're an Alistar main, so I have to know. You have to walk me through. First of all, the skin choice you rock, and then what exactly you do once you get onto Summoner's Rift, because I feel like there's an obvious answer to the skin choice, and if I'm right, I know exactly what you should be doing once the game starts on that Alistar.
Listen, there is only one correct option.
Right.
There are other skins that look cool. Lunar Beast, Alistar looks cool. It's fine. If these are all you have, by all means use them. But there's only one correct choice for Alistar, and it is Moo Cow Alistar.
There we go.
And as soon as you get that into game, you are walking straight up to Pixel Bush and hitting Control 3. Hitting that bell. Hitting that bell.
All right. I'm glad we're on the same page. That's exactly what I want to make sure to get out there.
It's the only option.
The pixel brush. I didn't see the pixel brush coming. I thought you were gonna say you just run down mid and stand there for like 20 seconds.
Oh, the enemy Nexus is like my second choice. So like,
okay.
If I had to like,
yeah,
like
just
50-50.
just standing in fountain. It's like it's all right, guys.
Naturally.
You just tell your team it's like you guys have heard of griefing Scion, right? It's just griefing Alistar.
but like higher win rate, obviously.
Higher win rate, true, and
For
it won't get
each
your.
game, you get like +1% win rate. You didn't know that?
There you go, and it won't get you banned because apparently if you play griefing Scion on a certain particular European server, you might get your main account banned. So. So it sounds like we are just having substitute galore. Yeah, so I'm assuming the problems we're having here, Keepsake, is that some players aren't really showing up to the game potentially, and then both these teams are kind of scrambling to put rosters back together. So at least we get substitutes on each side, which should theoretically kind of even out the power.
Maybe. I will say I think the earliest I've seen esports event start is on time. So gamers are not known for their punctuality, unfortunately. But
Nope.
I am still tremendously excited to see what these guys have. I mean, the people I took super interested in. Both bot lanes will be here in full, no subs there. Topo will be here. I'm super excited to see what he brings out. I want to see the Poppy. I think it's going to get banned because he is just so dominant on this Poppy, which is not something that you say a lot. You don't say like, "Oh, this guy is so dominant on like Ornn." Like it I guess you could say Ornn because he's like an assassin mage,
Hmm.
DPS, hyper,
Everything.
everything. He's everything. But you wouldn't say like this guy's like taking over the game on Scion. You know what I mean? It's not something you do. Also, Scion, I feel like has been losing uh presence in the top lane. I don't know if you've been feeling that. I've especially been watching some LPL recently, and I think people are giving. So obviously, like Gragas, like is getting nerfed, but like, or he got nerfed, but it's not through on like the bigger leagues yet. Um, so that's maybe when Gragas goes out, Sion will like take up more of a spot because that's like a vacant spot for a tank that people need. But
Hmm.
right now I don't actually see as much Sion as I used to. I think, especially at MSI and the like think 100 Thieves like in playoffs where they're slamming Sion, Jinx, Thresh every game.
True.
It's not quite the same. Looks like
Yeah.
we're almost there in terms of players, so we might be starting soon.
Yeah, hopefully it will. I was gonna say though, I feel like sort of the reason why Sion has fallen out is some of these top laners at this higher levels are willing to play counters to him a bit more. I know Revenge has been slamming Renekton a lot. I feel like Renekton answers a lot of those tanks you're talking
Right.
about pretty well. And
Actually,
I
it's
do,
all over the world, right? Renekton's like really big now. People are choosing
yeah,
Renekton over Cassante when they have the choice of either, which is
that's
huge because the
crazy.
Cassante has been broken since he's been out, at least in pro.
I know Cassante is like the hot bun debate topic, and this may just be coming from a caster's perspective because I'm not a great player at League of Legends. I like to pride myself in talking over League of Legends the
Same.
most. So personally, I think Cassante being broken is the most fun thing ever because he
Oh
is
no,
such a
it's
fun
it's
champion to
amazing.
watch. But there are people who are still so upset that he is as good as he is.
No, if it's like Yumi being broken is boring. It's
Yeah,
boring. It really is. Or like if I saw like a
like
meta that
Annie,
was I don't know
like
what's a really boring champion to see meta.
like Annie. If Annie's busted, it's not
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, Annie, exactly. Like I would much rather see like Ivern mid be meta. I don't know, or at least something new. I guess that's still boring, but at least it's new. It's like I want to get some like fresh eyes in here, like Lissandra or like something that wants to just like blow up the game.
Hmm.
That's stuff I'm down for. I haven't seen Lissandra recently though. Even though Ari has been like really popular, obviously Lissandra being like the classic counter to Ari. Um,
Hmm.
right now it's not picked. Right now people are choosing Azir and Ari, which lane matchup wise I don't love. Obviously the first few levels aren't so bad, but then like levels like 4 and 5 can get like a little cumbersome. Um, but people just think you don't lose hard enough, and Ari can't roam hard enough because you have enough wave clear to where you can just scale with Azir, and he's in a really good place right now. So I can't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, I think Azir is one of those. Azir and Ari, I think, are those two kind of like mages that kind of carry the same sort of feel as Cassante because there's just so much like variancy in plays you can make. Like,
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
like Sharima Shuffle with Azir, like there's just he's much more than just an extended melee champion to me, and Ari is so much more than a charm bot in a lot of ways. So when they're in the meta and powerful, I think it's very fun compared to like watching Victor. I
Corky
think can be
Victor.
pretty lame.
Yeah,
Corky Victor can be kind of lame, stuff like that. So I do feel like the meta is certainly an interesting spot. I do want to quickly update because I think I alluded to the idea that there was a substitute for CCG. It is DMK who has been told to me as like a fabled old head sort of goat around here for CCG. He's stepped in to play for the Open Qualifier and ACL team a while ago. Has challenger in every role. That's just a hard flex to throw out there. And he subbed in at
can't do
support.
it
Now he's going
anymore.
to come in and play jungle. So unfortunately, Keepsake, we hyped up Kizuno stepping in for his first week with the main roster. Unfortunately, that'll have to wait another week.
That's really interesting. I'd like to check. Oh, so I have gotten information that DMK is confirmed cracked. So we should be in just as much of a treat. That's what I've been told. So I'm glad to see him. I want to see what kind of jungler he picks because from what I've seen, like Magi Felix, obviously Tyler won. When you get challenger in every role, a lot of the time it's by playing a similar styles, so you don't have to learn like 5 different styles. So usually what you do is you play like champions that like enable
Mhm.
is what I've seen. Like obviously, like look at Tyler when he plays like Annie, Ivern, Amumu, the short champions. Oh, draft time.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you talked about what junglers you want to see. We're finally
We're
live
gonna
in the
see 'em.
draft.
So
As much as you want to hear, I hope a lot of people enjoyed me and Keepsake just trying to talk about whatever possible. But we do actually have League of Legends action planned for tonight, so
as
we're
much as I'd love to
finally
talk
here.
to Slayer for the rest of the night about Azir and Annie, we
Yeah,
will
right.
be heading right into draft.
So, yeah, so looks like we're into the draft, and there will be a ban. There will be a ban revoking, I guess. There's a ban punishment. So Exodia, because I believe they have 2 subs, they have to lose a ban here. So we should, yeah, we already saw it. So they're already onto their second ban, and out the gate. Well, would you look at that, Keepsake? Topo does not get a place, Poppy. Nope, not even close. And on the other side, it seems that Nico also
Nico.
taken away. So
A very good first pick, so especially if you're on red side, you don't want to give that B1 pick to Nico. It seems like every LCS team, every team actually in the world is trying to get that Nico first pick.
Certainly very powerful on that blue side as well. Speaking of those static Shiv abusers of the current patch, LeBlanc also going to be taken away from Exodia. So early on, a lot of mid pressure banning from CCG, which you don't always see in these drafts, considering how usually solo laners slide down in the draft. But CCG really going to try and target Decker, who is stepping in here. So taking away 2 pretty powerful champions from his toolkit.
It's interesting. So the Maokai ban, that must be to DMK. I did say about those supportive, kind of enabling junglers. Maokai is right now the best one, the staple. I mean, maybe I'm missing someone, but clearly better than Sejuani in my opinion. And I wouldn't consider Lee Sin really supportive. So I think this is the staple right now for the supportive, enabling type jungler. Additionally, I think it also blocks Maokai Jace, which a lot of people are liking right now in terms of just meta. So,
yeah, Nature's Grasp is one of those powerful ultimates in the game right now. I don't think we need to debate too much about that. CCG, though, 3 straight mid bans. So this is really intriguing. Obviously, that's pretty obvious. It just opens up the B1 for Cassante, and the champion that is so hotly contested in the meta currently is going to be going into the hand of Malil for the side of Exodia Exiles.
what do they want to counterpick top? That's my question. Because obviously there's the Poppy, right? That can interrupt 1 dash, but you can only interrupt 1 of Cassante's 3 dashes. And when that true damage comes out, you don't want to be Poppy versus Cassante. When that all-out Cassante comes through, you don't want to be Poppy in that exchange. So I'm waiting to see the response. We get a Kai'Sa this early. That's not super common, but I think the reason why is because of its flex possibility. Also could go static Shiv, go mid. I've seen it go mid in LCS very recently. So maybe they're flexing it. Also, Kai'Sa Rel looks really strong as a lane right now.
Yeah, I mean, any super engaged support you compare with Kai'Sa and that killer instinct is just pretty, well, no pun intended here, killer when you throw them together. So certainly can't go for that stack shift abuser as well. And Keepsake, we talked, it seems like all the top players we were talking about are just getting selected here. The all 5-for-1 sort of shampoo League of Legends champion Ornn will be in the hands of Topo. So you're gonna send that guy top to see if he can do it with Cassante.
Go next game. They got Ornn through draft.
They got Ornn, right?
It's unlucky.
It's drafted. Unlucky. Exactly. No. And
locking into Ashe, I did notice Barlow actually plays Ashe support. Ashe support has not been meta since like
January.
Early spring. Yeah, like that's winter. So I'm really interested in if that's a flex. I don't think it is, but it could be. Locking in the Wukong. It's Wukong. But there's not much to say about it. It's just probably the best jungler in the game for like the last 3 years.
Yeah, Wukong very strong. Gray's the answer. Potentially. If you're an Insanity fan, this could be mid.
This could be mid. I was gonna say I don't want to go like too LS here, where it's like, oh, I think the Bard's gonna go jungle, but like we have seen it in twice actually, earlier and yesterday. I think picking up a win yesterday, losing today, that Insanity did go into Graves. Looks like the bans are coming through. We do see a Rel ban and Emilio ban. Emilio obviously being the top tier support right now, being the like go-to. They don't want to have him with Ashe because they have this lockdown with Ornn. I guess because if they're trying to go for like an engage support, they really don't want Emilio because that's really good disengage. And obviously Rel, as I mentioned, really great with that killer instinct and is hyper meta right now.
Yeah, so it's really tough to see a ban, and I was expecting this. The Nautilus followed right up, so those are the two supports that when you think of a Kai'Sa hyper carry in your team fight, what two supports can enable her best? Nautilus and Rel definitely scream out. Two supports that can really enable an Ashe pretty well, which CCG think this is an AD carry. Ashe is going to be Lulu and Helio taken away.
Blind pick support, and so so not only did they ban 3 mid laners, but they are going to potentially last pick mid lane. Again, it could be the flex with the Graves, could be the flex with the Kai'Sa, but for standard roles, we're expecting you know, just an AP mid laner, because otherwise, how are you going to get AP into this comp? I mean, you don't want Ornn to be your AP.
Yeah, you definitely don't. I mean, I know he can do a lot of things.
Hey, he's broken, but he's not that broken.
Yeah, he's not that busted. Certainly weird in a draft to see that Ahri gets beef forward. I feel like every time you see Ahri, she's going way earlier in the draft, so that's definitely a nice pick for Exodia Exile. Problem is, it's good because it's decently difficult to counter pick her. Oh, wow. I was going to say Barlow lost his Thresh, and he answers it with the Heimerdinger tech. I know Gurf behind the scenes is going crazy because Heimer's his boy.
The login from Heimerdinger. This is like again, like January draft. This is Ashe, this is Worlds. This is back at DRX versus D1. The Ashe Heimerdinger. We haven't seen this for a while. I'm really excited to see the last pick here. Is it mid? Is it AD? It looks like mid. Looks like
Seraphine mid.
They didn't decide to flex Graves and Kai'Sa, and they decided to send Seraphine mid into the Ahri. Do you think they're just trying to, because obviously Seraphine can't match roams in any way. Do you think it's probably that they're just trying to scale and see if they can play defensive with their lanes?
Yeah. So this is, you know, what's funny is you talked about is like this is a World's bot lane coming back from EXE on the other side. This is even further of the throwback from CCG, arguably in the Death Ball comp in a way, because whenever you ran that Seraphine. So CCG are making a statement here, despite the fact that they've had to run DMK at jungle. There's substitutes on the other side they have to account for. They're basically keepsake just all inning for that 5v5 later in the game. They're all gonna, if they link up and CCG aren't heavily down, good luck to Exodia Exile trying to stop all 5 of these champions running at them.
I mean, EXE really is on a timer. They should realistically have all the resources, if they play right, to take over this early game and snowball into a lead. But you're crazy if you think Ashe is like not one of the worst 3 scaling ADCs. Not that she scales bad, but just that ADCs scale so well. This Kai'Sa will absolutely surpass her, especially with that ornament upgrade coming in no later than probably level 14, 15.
Right.
Especially when Ornn starts getting those magic resist bonuses from giving his upgrades, and that Seraphine scales, it's going to be really hard, unless there's a sizable gold lead at that point, for EXE to do anything. So they have to make this Ahri, this K'Sante, they have to make these early game picks with this Wukong, they have to make these rotations in order to get a lead, get ahead, get those objectives, and make CCG contest them in the mid game, which they're trying to win.
Also really have to lean heavily on just trying to create picks, right? Because every time you run Ashe Ahri, those are 2 champions that are heavily pick reliant, setting up picks across the board. Ahri is very easily going to have the Decker's going to have the roam on radar. I mean, that's just the nature of playing Seraphine mid against an Ahri. You're going to give the roam ability up, and once Mikhail hits level 6, those enchanted crystal arrows start coming out, create a lot of plays. So yeah, I keep saying, I think you put it pretty perfectly here, is the onus is going to be on EXE to create early, and that just adds a bit of pressure. I mean, obviously you feel confident about your early game, but you can sort of get stuck in a mindset, you know, early of we need to make plays happening all the time. That sort of starts deteriorating your play. It starts throwing off little things like the micro mechanics in lane. So if you're CCG, you know, the home team, if it isn't obvious by what's on your screen right now, it's just really about biding your time, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like with all this, they have so much disengage. They have so much. I mean, the Thresh Lantern, Killer Instinct can be used obviously aggressively, but also defensively to reposition yourself to another side of an ally, or sorry, rather an enemy that they're not throwing their abilities at. Um, you know, Graves has a decent bit of disengage with his dashes, with his ult. This Ornn, obviously, massive frontline, really hard to walk past, and obviously Seraphine, who you don't want to walk into. So if CCG can somehow sneak like an early dragon, that buys them so much time because they don't have to contest the next 2 or 3 dragons because it's not soul point. You're gonna see the bot side prioritize really heavily with this Ahri and Wukong connecting, going right with this Ashenheimer, trying to get these leads, push out the wave, either dive or dive and go to dragon, because they need these early dragons in order to get this lead that they need to win.
Yeah, I mean, you put it perfectly there, Cape Sake. Now, obviously, we've gotten through the draft, we're starting to get through the spec delay, and you've obviously studied both these squads, you know, outside the substitutions that were thrown as a curveball to you, Keep Sake, pretty well. How are you feeling, as unbiased as you can, about this game 1 for CCG?
I think that with the subs in that EXE has made, I think obviously they've subbed in as well on the side of CCG, but I think on the side of EXE that these players probably do not have as much experience with each other, and this is a harder comp to play. Because if you mess up left side comp, you're probably out. You're probably out of the game if you mess up. Like if you let one dragon go early, the game becomes really, really hard. On right side, if you mess up, you're probably okay. You have more time, you can delay the game, you can buy some items that can help you clear waves, you can just do whatever to prolong the game. There is more room for error, I suppose. And I think when there's subs in who aren't fully practiced with like their teammates, as much as the main players are, obviously I know their practice, but I think this can like end up in some situations where I prefer the comp that has more room for error, and it looks like if they don't get caught in the mid game, they have a just winning late game, completely winning all over the board.
Well, there you go. You've got the prediction there from Keepsake, his confidence in the squad. And for your sake at home, keep the Twitch stream up. We're going to go to a quick break here on the other side. Game number 1, CCG versus Exodia Exile. You won't want to miss it. It may have taken a little bit longer than we expected, but it's finally the good old stomping grounds of League of Legends. Summoner's Rift here. CCG looking to knock down one of the few remaining undefeated teams in the ACL. That would be Exodia Exile. You're seeing them there now on your screen on that blue side, setting up for a bit of cheeky plays towards this bot side. And oh my god,
Both
we are going to have
in.
fireworks right off the bat,
no.
and it's a bunch of whiff skill shots. So the play already goes a bit wide there from Deetro.
Smiting the Heimer turret.
Yeah, smiting Heimer turret as well. That's a very smart tactic. And now we just get a dance. Like, you know, you play ARAM. It's usually in the mid lane, but have you heard of ARAM in the bottom lane?
Yeah, no, it's all the rage, you know?
New tech.
It's catching on. We'll see these teams move out.
Oh, hold on.
DMK moving in, taking a big chunk. Again, I don't know why he's walking in here. He's actually losing a ton of health. It's going to make his clear a lot slower and more predictable. He's
really trying to bait, but there's the charm landing, and DMK's going to have to flash out. There's the return flay, though.
Flash, drops Ignite onto the jungler.
So, and there's a flash forward there from Lily. And this is just getting more chaotic.
Misses.
Doesn't get it. Won't land
and
that.
The game starts.
Yeah, that's a pretty wacky way for the game to start. DMK's not even done at all in any facet. Barlow
there is a
dropping the turret.
Disadvantage here, but a sums advantage for the bot lane. Looks like Barlow will die.
Barlow is gonna drop.
Going right over to radar.
Jeez. All right, right off the bat, That's a pretty darn good start here for CCG. Pretty chaos. There's a flash misplay from Detro. Mikhail does have lethal tempo firing, and Detro's without summoners, so Mikhail might be able to trade this, but actually steps back. DMK stepping forward. This is absolute pure chaos.
What is this?
This is at 2 minutes. BB Swag has level 2. The flash charm from Decker will find the kill on the DMK. Mikhail might not even be done yet.
There is no CS on either bot lane board.
There still isn't. I was just absolute pure chaos. When the dust settles, the gold is even, but who knows what repercussions this is going to have on the rest of the game.
It looks worse for CCG at, like, first glance. I think because it does set DMK further in his back, or the back sent him further in his clear. And when you're already not going to match the speed of a Wukong clear as the early Graves, this is going to be really, really painful. I think as far as who the kill goes to, obviously you get more kill for the first blood that the Seraphine got, but Ahri will be able to snowball quicker with that gold, right? You've never seen like a Seraphine like get fed and then like be able to like one-shot people. It doesn't typically happen. Although this Ahri, if she does get too far ahead, I can see a Graves or a Kaisa, you know, just getting blown up by this Ahri over a wall. It could happen.
It certainly could happen. A lot of things could happen so far. We've had the chaos sort of calm down here now as minions begin to sort of crash the lanes. Barlow is still going to be cheeky, and if you guys really like Heimerdinger play, you're going to get to watch it in full because Gurf on production, the lovely observer, is a Heimerdinger enjoyer, so expect as many close-up shots of Barlow as possible, trying to be an absolute nuisance in the bottom lane. Notice
the shops in terms of buys for the inventories for the ADCs. Mikhail got to back, actually. So he is up a full Doran's Blade. This will be massive in lane, because obviously Doran's Blade not building into anything, but a massive stat stick as already a winning lane. This is a complete winning lane. It's a bully lane, too. And when you're up as Ashe, it can be so hard for other people to, like, get in, get CS. You just abuse with Heimerdinger. So I want to see how this plays out.
Dietrich's doing a pretty good job keeping the turrets at bay. Radar continuously chunked low. Topo and Lily. These solo lanes are just going back and forth. DMK like here coming for the gank, though. Decker is just going to clear
they will crash
right
the wave,
out.
so Radar gets the back and use that gold.
Topo now under pressure. We'll have to flash away there from BB Swag, so that's
Topo
a good set of
really
ganks.
Lucky, though. It's fortunate for him that both those players used flash during the invade, so he doesn't get followed. He probably goes down there if Cassante has flash. Maybe if Wukong does. It's complicated. Yeah,
it could have been a really sticky situation, but nothing to come of just yet. Getting a good look at some invade drops though.
In this jungle, seeing if someone's... This jungle is so well warded. They know exactly where Wukong is. Looking to go mid, get a gank, see what they can do. This Ahri is rotating down to defend the jungle because they just have almost no vision. They have one ward in that bush near mid lane. Other than that, this bot river, the vision is completely controlled by red side.
Yeah, BB Swag starting to feel the pressure of that. Detro not able to find that hook after flying the clone, but they're doing a good job just being a nuisance in the jungle there. And those wards just going to keep a bit of a timer for DMK, allow him to kind of set up around the rift. The Drake does seem to be the target of both of these squads so far. That Mountain Drake, the first one up. Both of these bot sides rotating over. It looks like DMK now will swing back towards top side, and not anything really coming of it just yet, but gotta keep an eye on those Drakes at all times, especially early in this game if you are Exodia Exiles squad, like we talked about from draft.
Looks like this this support roam that just occurred, where support went upriver into jungle. It looked like it could potentially cause a lot of problems for Rockboom. In the end, it didn't matter because they didn't start drag, but Rockboom was pushed way under tower where he could just get poked out by this Ashe Heimer and had no support. I mean, there was waves and he couldn't do anything. So really fortunate that Wukong or Ahri, you know, didn't take the opportunity to maybe roam down. Obviously, you'd have to see them pass, but it would have been a hard thing. Now going into it looks like both teams want to set up for this dragon. As I said earlier, if CCG manages to get this first dragon, it's looking really, really tough for EXE to dominate the game like they want to. Like how
Yeah,
their comp wants to. Looks like the dragon will be started up by DMK.
they're struggling to even find vision. There's a good hook from Detro, lands
Great hook,
right
goes
on
over the
top
wall.
of Barlow. And
Flash.
following through. Killer Instinct and Rock Boom has that kill. Barlow drops. Detro sets that one up flawlessly, and one kill might just be enough for CCG to claim that first Drake, like we talked about, for
Hitting
so
this dragon,
free.
Mountain Dragon, one of the most effective gold-wise in terms of resistances. Better yet, the Killer Instinct wasn't used. Guys, is still 5. She has that if she needs it later, so she can calm down. However, on the top side, Tapo getting pushed in. The Cassante will get pushed in this matchup, but he's doing a great job at staying even in CS. He's doing a great job at just saying, hey, I'm going to lose this matchup, and that's fine because my team's going to win, and I can just, you know, give them stats later, and that's fine.
Ooh, a bit of good sidesteps there from Radar, able to avoid that charm and then stick right out of the way of the following Q there. So
Absolute fancy feat.
fancy footwork nonetheless. And now a bit of a gold lead for CCG. It's not anything huge, but like we keep talking about over and over again from outside this draft, this game 1, CCG are the ones that are comfortable playing back, playing defensive. So the fact that we're 8 minutes in and they're holding a slight gold lead in a Drake lead is everything they could have asked for.
This is exactly what you want to see if you're a CCG fan. Looks like we might have a fight here near Herald.
Yeah, there's
Tapo
a
finding his way
knockup
onto
into the
Ari's gonna go
hook.
down.
Oh,
no.
there's the Spirit Rush. The Ignite
gone.
is just enough. The Cyclone response, though, Detro will fall. Barlow picks that one up. Call the
still there.
Forge God
Double ult.
into the
Seraphine
Encore. Huge knockups. Radar picks another one up. Malili
Tapo
trying
running.
to jump forward on the Tapo. There's the all
out
out,
from
and
Cassante, pulls
Malili
it back.
will pick it
Ash
up.
chases
Radar,
for lethal tempo.
the slow is just too much. Has to force the flash. The Ignite as well over top. Barlow not going to be able to chase him down. The stun does land, though, and
Perfectly
there's the
landed
kill
by
from
Barlow.
Malili. So another well-played
Gush,
move
though,
from the
back,
Hybridator
read for
player.
red buff. Could be very bad.
They should just be able to step away here, and DMK will pick up the red buff, but bloody towards the top side here, and the kill count still even at the end of the day.
The gold evens out though. So the this was a 2 for 3 favoring EXE. They got more gold out of it, and a lot of that went to Cassante. So if now BB wants to prio top and just say, hey, I'm just gonna sit top. I've got a fed Cassante. Let's maybe get this Herald. Let's maybe get some of this gold into Cassante. Cassante could easily take over this game. I mean, he's a very problematic character, as we mentioned, very broken. We do see DMK start up the Herald. Looks like all of his teammates are on the way. Everyone's 6 except for the supports in this game. Everyone with their ultimates. Not all of them on cooldown, but looks
no
like
Cyclone, no all out. The Herald is very low, but look at that. The clone and BB Swag steps right in and steals it. How much is it going to cost, though? The double root Radar finds that kill. Now Malili surrounded by all of CCG. A huge shutdown. So the Herald picked up there by Exodia Exile, but it cost them 2.
this is definitely not worth by Exodia Exile. Do we even... Yeah, so, okay, it looks like Cassante picked it up. So Cassante will get the plates, like we mentioned. But the gold, I mean, you're up in gold as a team comp that, to be even at this state, needs to just be, like, if you're, like, 800 gold behind, 1,000, 200 gold behind, you're fine. You're like, okay, the game state is even. Considering you're ahead in gold, and you've got it on some pretty optimal targets. I mean, I said, again, this Seraphine isn't going to one-shot people, but it looks like she's going into Liandry's, yeah? Looks like she's going into Liandry's. That's going to hurt. I mean, there's this Wukong and this Fed Cassante. If you're Cassante, you do not want to take this poke.
Ooh.
Looks
Hold
like
on,
there's an
there's
engage
the
here
Spirit
mid.
Rush. The Charm has to use Encore defensively. Cyclone's already out, though, but the stuns are just enough. They have to go under turret, and BB Swag will pick that one up, but it costed every single summoner possible. And that's some gold back into the pocket of EXE as they're desperately trying to contend with the scaling comp from CCG.
That's really, really good for EXE. It was really smart for BB to be there at that time, because he knew that Seraphine had just got the gold but hadn't bought the items for it, so she actually hadn't like turned it into meaningful stats yet. Him being there, making sure like, let's get her while she's still weak, and you know, even forcing Sarah to burn ult, Sarah won't have that ult for the next Drake fight if they choose to fight it. She might for the latter end of the fight, but for the beginning, she definitely will not.
A big ultimate spot to watch for is that Drake, like your keepsake, talking about 30 seconds away.
Talking about our favorite item, Rock
Yeah,
Boom rocking that static shiv, looking for the gank bot. Hook
Ooh.
goes wide,
Bit
but
of a wide hook.
getting
There's
both ults from the enemy bot lane, that's definitely in favor of CCG, especially when it's only 10 seconds till the second dragon comes up. I don't think it's another mountain. I think that's an error.
No, yeah.
But
yeah.
unless you know something I don't.
No.
We'll see. It's
a
Hex
hex
Tech.
tech.
It's Hex Tech. So yeah, I mean Hex Tech and Mountain in terms of stats for this team. I mean, Seraphine artificially making everyone tankier. Kaisa with that great kiting ability. You've got Disengage with your Ornn and your Thresh. Being tanky and having ability haste is the name of the game here. So this looks great. So okay, BB forced over the wall.
Yeah.
The abilities are burned.
Flash is available.
Unfortunately,
Detro gets
taking
burned.
Huge poke
Ooh.
here.
There's the killer instinct. They're jumping
Cyclone
onto
back
BB,
here.
but the Cyclone back and the shield from Seraphine isn't enough. Decker will find Rock Boom. The Encore will hit too. How much damage can Radar even really get out?
Flash over.
Kale's
Looks
able
like
to flash over.
a
The
great
hook lands, and that's
winning the
huge
fight.
for Radar. Already picking up a double kill and might be looking for more here. The Charm only delaying the inevitable, and DMK will find a third one. Who says the Seraphine can't carry this one? And let's run, honestly, let's run through a replay there, because Keepsake is
Radar wanted to prove
so
me wrong.
much
He's like,
chaos.
you said Seraphine doesn't one-shot people? I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll see a replay in a second here. But wow, what a great fight from CCG that came from what was a really bad fight. I mean, at the beginning, they were poked out tremendously. I mean, way down in health, especially on that support. You got a critical hook at the very end on that Ashe, who was spiraling with her lethal tempo, could have taken over that fight. So, massive, massive things here for the side of CCG. Now, up 600 gold, but it's really about those two dragons.
Great lantern there from Detro.
Another
the
ultimate
Crystal
from
Arrow. They're able to dodge the
goes
stuns
wide,
and
does
these
get
hook.
slow.
Detro is under pressure though, and BB just dives under turret and finds that kill and will barely survive the turret aggro. So Detro did as much as he could, but nothing to come of it. Hold on though, because DMK is around here. The teleport coming out here. That's Ornn coming through here. Topo, the immediate response. Call the Forge God out. Can he get the knockup? Is land one. Mikhail so low, but there's the all-out from Lily. Pulls DMK back and finds that kill. Mikhail does fall in the background, but a lot of pressure towards this bot side and only a kill apiece for either side.
It's really interesting that they decided to drop the second TP with Seraphine. Not at once, but it looked like there was a little bit of miscommunication there. That Ornn was like, okay, we're TPing. And there was a second of hesitation with Radar where he's like, do I want to TP? Do I not want to TP? And he TP's late. And I think if he had been there early, I don't know if, we'll see. But it looks like he has his ult now. I don't think he used his ult in the last fight. So I think he did have ult. I wonder if he could have ulted and maybe gotten the Cassante off of his jungler and maybe changed the fight. Either way, it's still a lead for CCG. Looks like a fight.
Ooh, hold on. Radar again just hounded by BB swag. The shutdown goes over to Decker there, but that Cyclone is so deadly to this pretty stationary Seraphine. Flashes away. It doesn't end up mattering. And they're able to pick off Radar once more to keep this game not even close, but back in the gold department in the favor of Exodia Exile.
Yeah, again, so CCG not liking how this turns out. They are getting gold exactly where they want it besides Ashe, which, to be fair, Ashe at some point will just become an R-bot anyway. That's just looking for a CC pick. They've got it in Wukong. Wukong's basically full build. He's got Divine Sunder, so game's over. But no, they have it in Wukong. They have it in Ahri. They have it in Cassante. These are your damage dealers. They're the ones who are gonna get in that meatball, tear it apart, and just try to do damage. And looks like another engage. Wow, this is one of the most bloody games I've seen recently. This is why we love the lower leagues. This is some absolute non-stop gameplay. Always getting some blood.
Yeah, Detro has looked for picks in quite literally every single lane by this point. So trying to set up another one onto Decker, but isn't able to find one. Is now that we've crested that mid-game point, you starting to see those lane swaps kind of come out. The bottom lane shift towards the mid side, and Topo and Malili are just chilling towards the spot side, just farming up, daring the other one to try and engage. Topo will just be a bit of a pest. Gets that knockup, but hold on, it might be a bait here because Radar and DMK are on the flank here. Immediate flash from Lily pulls DMK under turret, and the Call of Forge God goes wide. That's Cassante Gaming, folks, if I've ever seen it.
Someone
and Lily
this man.
walks right out.
Absolute monster performance from this top laner. Was this the sub? This is an amazing performance. I was not expecting. Topo, I mean, he played it as best he could, but the flash all-out W from Mali made really good play. I am looking at the inventories, though. Looking at the inventories, it looks like both ADCs itemized into the Static Shiv. Kaisa obviously going for the Rage Blade and Ash into the potential dive.
Topo.
Ash into the Trinity Force. I do want to highlight the... Actually, we might just get some more action here. As DMK is looking, he probably won't go. There are too many there, too strong with his Thresh too far behind. And with Topo at too low HP. I think the Gore Drinker is a really interesting option for Graves. I don't exactly know if I think it's the I think you should go for more damage with this build, actually, because I think Seraphine, with all those heals and shields, makes you survivable enough. But they might look for the dive here on top, onto the top laner. Will not. They see the enemies in their jungle because of the vision.
Just backing him off so they can take that tower, and they will be able to secure it pretty easily. This next Drake, we have a Cloud Soul for game one, which isn't, I know, everybody's favorite Drake to play around, but certainly still a soul to play around with regardless. Will spawn now, and seems like a huge fight could break out. There's the teleport from the Lily to get back into the fight. All Out is available, and so is Call of the Forge God for Topo. Now both these teams are just going to jockey for positioning around this Drake, but you can really feel that this fight could swing the game towards either side.
Topo couldn't get the angle, has to rotate around.
Mikhail is going to push out that
mid
mid
five
wave.
straight front to back it. No one seeming to coming from an angle. Maybe Decker will. We'll have to see. Cassante just looking for anything. Hook onto Cassante. Can't be engaged.
There's the arrow. Goes wide. Call the Forge God misses because Topo gets pulled by All Out. So a couple of whiffed ultimates. The Drake still getting juggled. Malili down to half health. There's a huge hook into a double knockup. What a play from Detro. The collateral damage picks off the EXE jungler. Malili so low, nearly falls.
Does he die? Burn,
but they find the kill they need to start this Drake up. What a double knockup, and that's all she wrote for EXE. They're still dancing around this pit like they want to contest it, but they're without their jungler. There's no possible way that they should pick up this Drake, and with one big kill, CCG have soul points secured at 20 minutes.
So, yeah, I mean, this is just really fascinating. I mean, in all our heads, it was like, okay, so they're clearly going to have bot control having Ash Heimer, and they're just going to get the dragon. That is not what happened at all. And that is really bad. Even though the gold is even. I mean, the gold could not be closer. Really, it couldn't. Even though the gold is even. Not only does right side scale better, but they have bought themselves 20 more minutes, like, at worst case scenario, until the enemy team, like, can even get soul. Until, like, there's even elders, right? So, like, they've bought so much time in this for this game. If they just want to sit back, which I hope they don't, because this is looking like an absolute banger of a game. If they just want to sit back and let the game happen, let them scale, they are in a perfect position to just play it slow, say, hey, we scale better, and we have bought so much time for us. Why don't we just play it out?
Yeah, why not, right? And they have the tools to just create so much pressure as well into that late game. Like we talked about, DMK on that Graves will be such a problem. Already sporting that bounty. I'm pretty sure he's holding on to a lot of gold. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. He has 2.5k gold. So when he backs, will be nearly 2 items on this Graves and farming up pretty well. 3 CS in front of BB Swag on top of that. And this Graves is one of, if not the biggest scaling champion, arguably in this game, at least from a damage standpoint. So CCG just in the metaphorical driver's seat completely to take this game 1.
Looks like Ornn hit 13, the first ornament going through onto himself. So from here on out, not only does every ornament he give massive stat boost to all, like to each ally, but he gets resistances for himself. This Ornn will become a massive problem, even though he is down like 1,000 gold, as we saw, like 1,300 gold. There is also a difference in the golden ADC. I know that Ashe just backed, and so she finished her mythic, so what I was going to say is now no longer valid. But there is a gold difference between this ADC. If we see Kai'Sa back, oh, she started to back, she canceled it. We might see that difference. I wonder if this Heimer is going to full build Morellonomicon, or if he's just going to sit on the orb and go for his Liandry's for his damage, because there is a ton of healing. You have the Seraphine, you have, I mean, in some cases, the Ornn. You have, obviously, the Gourd Drinker on the Graves. There is a lot of healing on this right side comp. So I wonder if he's going to want to finish that, or if he's just going, because he applies magic damage everywhere, or if he's going to just go into his damage Liandry's. I think you should hold on to the orb and go into Liandry's. What about you?
You know, I certainly am a bigger fan of Liandry's than Morellonomicon as an item, so certainly be interested to see if what route he goes there. Not gonna have a ton of gold to even pull back from on that support Heimer, so it'll be really interesting to track that regardless. We are getting to see a bit of an identity on how Exodia Exiles can pull back in this game, and it's that 1-3-1 split as Lily is trying to take a bout with Topo, but good luck killing killing this Ornn at this point. I mean,
keeps himself
just
out.
So strong. He can just run for days. So he's just gonna dash away. Lily can chase him all he wants. He's not gonna kill him. On the top side though, Radar is the one under pressure.
Great
Huge lantern from Detro to make sure that Radar doesn't fall to another Cyclone from BB Swag. So this is kind of what they're gonna have to do if you are Exodia Exiles, right? You're gonna have to 1-3-1 split the map, go for picks, because you know if you 5v5 against this death ball from CCG, there's no way you're winning the fight by this point.
They are ahead in gold. So if we can move over to individual gold for our observers, look at this gold diff top. All the plates, all like these towers, I believe that 2 out of 3 of them went to the K'Sante. The K'Sante is absolutely massive in these team fights. The last team fight was played poorly, so we didn't get to see K'Sante really do any damage. He all outed someone, and then they got away like instantly, and then he got hooked and died. I want to see what this K'Sante can do with this massive advantage. Obviously, being on the side of CCG here, I don't want to see him win, but I do want to see what he does with this massive advantage, because the hopes of EXE lie in this K'Sante. He is their avenue to victory.
Their avenue, their cul-de-sac, their street, whatever sort of designation you want to give them. K'Sante is certainly the way they're going to have to play through. So Lily has a lot of weight on his shoulders. We're starting to crest towards that potentially final Cloud Drake, 30 seconds away. And you can see now that CCG are starting to group back up as 5. There's the teleport out from Topo. Decker is towards top side, doesn't have the teleport available. Detro is going to land a hook on a BB Swag. There's a huge 3-man knockup. BB Swag going forward. The Cyclone trying to respond, but he's already cut down once again early in the fight. Rock Boom, Killer Instinct forward. There goes Lily. CCG starting to roll. Decker barely dodges out on the hook from Detro with Spirit Rush, but once again, but right before the Drake spawns, CCG come up huge, and Topo isn't done. I'm sorry, Gurf, your Heimerdinger is dead once more, and it's to the assuage of CCG.
I really like the look they're doing here. They're looking to absolutely take over the game. Not only have they taken over the gold lead, I mean, what an amazing fight, but they're splitting the objectives between Graves and the rest of the team who are doing the Baron, while Graves is just securing the Dragon. So they get the Soul, which, let's be honest, Cloud Soul here is kind of disappointing, especially for their champions. You don't get the most out of it. I mean, like, Seraphine doesn't really need movement speed when she ults. Kind of stationary. But that passive movement speed is just going to help you get around the map. It's still amazing to have Soul, amazing to deny Soul. You get the stats from the individual drag, and you get 1.5k gold from the drag. From the Baron. You get the Baron buff, and let's see what they can do with the Baron buff. Let's see if they want to force something, what they want to do with it, because this game is in the hands of CCG. It's their game to lose. They have this game in the bag, metaphorically speaking, and it looks like with the scaling comp, you know, the first item upgraded was the Liandry's into the Rage Blade. You can't think that Gore Drinker is too far behind. I mean, all your carries are going to have upgraded ornaments, and you're going to...
Oh, boy.
Oh, there might be a fight here.
Yeah, Radar does get Everfrost Charm. That's just too easy of a combo.
make it
Radar
out.
has no business being this far up on the top side. Malili will pick up that kill. Detro trying to get something back here. Will Lantern Rock Boom? And there's a huge hook from Detro through the minions. Decker has to go golden, but Rock Boom just blows them both up. Sayonara, suckers. That's a huge double kill. Topo might even pick up one of his own. Flash forward. Mikkel has to flash away. 1 HP picks up the kill. Topo is outplaying the entirety of the AXE right now. Barlow falls as well. The Topo 1v2 outplay has arrived, and CCG are running away with game 1.
An absolute statement of a game coming from here. They're saying, hey, we chose a scaling comp, but we can still beat you into the early game. We don't care that you have early game champions. We don't care that you have to play for the Dragons. We're going to do that, and we're going to do that better with champions that are weaker earlier. An absolute, absolute statement. Also, I love seeing these lanterns helping his allies zip around the map as they destroy the base of EXE. It's like another...
Oh my god,
Ari.
the play, the hook.
Possibly.
Detro's just smurfing this game right now. Just these blind hooks. Another great lantern to keep DMK safe. Detro, you know, we talked about Barlow likes his thresh. I think Detro likes it a lot more, especially after the game we've seen. This game is completely in control of CCG now. It's nearly an 8K gold lead. Elder soon to spawn. The base broken. Top inhibitor down as well. It's going to take some serious mental mistakes from CCG to even let Exodia Exile back into this one.
So with that last push after, you know, that team fight where or rather 2 fights where they killed 4 members of EXE. Oh, looks like a catch out here.
There's the arrow, there's the cyclone, but can DMK die? There's the encore. He's still alive with the gore during the shutdown. Will finally come across. Radar also having to flash away. There's a teleport from a Lily to try and flank this. They're going to try and trap the rest of CCG without their jungle carry. So it's going to be a bit of a rat race.
Here with the Cloud Soul. Cloud Soul, I said, wouldn't be that useful. Instantly proving really useful as they can walk away. There's no objectives up.
And they just burn Malili, who oversteps. There's Call of Forge God. Now CCG are going to turn on their heads. Huge knock-up onto Barlow. Dexter just gets blown up by Rock Boom on the backside of the fight. And Detro, stop me if you heard this one before, just flanking hook after hook after hook. Detro, take a bow, my friend. A triple kill for Rock Boom. An ace for CCG. And that might just be it for game number 1.
That looks like game 1. After that, I mean, they took all the towers. They lost everything. Detro's landing so many death sentences, he's writing a death paragraph. I mean, this is a game to be remembered. So many good plays from this whole team. A 5-0 especially feels fitting to end this game. A 5-0 ace.
Clean ace. Detro gets one more cook in there. My god. Barlow doesn't even get to play the game anymore. An absolute thrubbing in game number 1 here. And CCG will take the series lead in droves. What a way to kick off a series against one of the few undefeated teams in the ACL. And just what a series there to close out the first game of this matchup. I mean, there's so much to take away from that. You know, you talk about Keepsake, how you felt about the draft, but draft is only one thing. Execution really was just in a lot of ways flawless in this game.
I think at some point, like when they go back there and they go, hey coach, you know, like what do we need to do? What do we need to do differently? There's a certain point where it's like, it's not like, oh, you know, I think our draft strategy was bad, or like they had the tools, they just didn't use them correctly. It's a certain point where it's like, you just have to play better. You got outplayed. It wasn't a problem with your plan. It wasn't a problem with, you know, like setting up. It was just a problem with play. I mean, if it had been like they got ahead and they couldn't close out the game, maybe, but they didn't get ahead at all. In fact, they were down or even or like 200 gold ahead for the entire game. Never got an objective besides the one herald that was stolen. They never even set up for an objective first. I was really surprised. Again, when Detro first roamed into the enemy jungle, and that the Heimer and the Ashe got the huge push onto Rock Boom. I'm surprised with that huge push. They didn't set up for Dragon. They had total bot control. There was a massive wave, and they could have done Dragon. Now, would there have been a fight afterwards? Probably, but I don't know. I think Heimer and Ashe can start recalling early, and then you just have Wukong finish it and clone his way over the wall. So yeah, I'm really surprised they didn't have any setups at any objectives. CCG every single time got the setup, and that partially again goes to Detro. That vision and the enemy jungle and the river. Yes, the bushes right next to his lane were not warded. Were controlled mostly by blue side, but the deep river wards, the deep jungle wards, all of it was controlled by Detro and DMK.
What a performance there. You talked about Detro, third in the entirety ACL in Vision and number 1 in our hearts in landing death sentences after that game number 1. Well, that's not the whole series though, folks, as much as I'm sure CCG faithful would like it to be. This is a best of 3 tonight, so we'll go to a quick break. On the other side, draft for game number 2 to see what Exodia Exile have got in store for us playing from behind. Stick with us.